Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Sai Satcharitra, an Insight, Episode 83. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sai. By the divine grace of Sai, an attempt has been made to translate the gist of the divine discourse of Sri Ramanathan Brother telecasted in Sai TV. This is purely done to share the glory of Sai and his divine teachings with more insight to the aspirants. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahmam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Devotees, I have mentioned in the previous episode that Udavesh Buva is very fond of going on pilgrimages. Now we shall listen to the pilgrimage made by him to Dwaraka. Dwaraka is in the northwestern state of Gujarat and is one of the Char Dham, that is the 4 sacred pilgrimage places of Hindus, and one of the 7 most ancient religious sites in the country. Dwaraka is mentioned in the Mahabharata, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Skanda Purana, Vishnu Purana, and the Harivamsa. This was a royal city where Lord Krishna lived for many years. The home of Krishna is a gateway to heaven. Let me give a glimpse of why Lord Krishna built the city of Dwaraka. Kamsa made many attempts to kill Sri Krishna and Sri Balaram, but he failed every time. Hence, he decided to invite them to Mathura for a wrestling match with great demons Chanura and Mushtika. Krishna and Balaram came to Mathura and killed the demons, and then they also killed Kamsa. After Kamsa died, his 2 wives went back to their father Jarasandh, and they were grief stricken, and they began to proclaim to their father that their husband was a noble, pious, and righteous king, and Krishna killed him by all unfair means and wanted their father to destroy Krishna and the entire Yadu dynasty. He, being a powerful asura, mobilized 23 Akshauhani divisions and attacked Mathura, and Krishna killed all of his army, deeply uprooted them, destroyed everyone except Jarasandha. He allowed Jarasandha to escape, and this happened 17 consecutive times. We may wonder why Lord Krishna killed the whole army of Jarasandha and would never kill him. The great sages exemplify the action of Lord Krishna thus. Lord Krishna's mission in this world is Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Dushkrutinam Dharma Samstapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. He comes for the purpose of protecting his devotees and annihilating the miscreants, the demons. He knew that Jarasandha was such a popular and influential demon that he was getting demons from all over the world and bringing them right to Mathura. So, instead of Krishna traveling all over the world to kill all demons, he knew all he had to do was to kill them and let Jarasandha bring them. Once, Jarasandha arranged that one would attack from east and one from west simultaneously, and another from Mathura, challenging Krishna to fight. Krishna realized that and knew that citizens of Mathura will be in a very difficult position and it would be uncomfortable for them. Hence, he spoke with Balaram and planned. While all the citizens of Mathura were sleeping, Krishna called for Vishwakarma, the architect of the demigods, and told him to build a beautiful city within the sea. The city had a boundary wall around it which was 96 miles, and Vishwakarma may build such a wonderful, beautiful palace that nobody would have seen. And after everything was constructed, all the 33 crores demigods made contributions or gifts to make Dwaraka beautiful. While all the inhabitant citizens of Mathura were sleeping, by the Yoga Maya potency, Krishna transported everyone to Dwarka. So, when they woke up in the morning, they were living in this beautiful city in the middle of the ocean. Thus, Krishna was confident that this was a very fortified fort protected by the ocean itself, and he could attempt to dealing with these demons. So, this was the reason for which Lord Krishna got this heavenly city Dwaraka built. After the Kurukshetra war, Lord Krishna lived in Dwarka for 36 years. It is believed that the empire collapsed because of the Yadav kings fighting among themselves after Krishna. After the battle, when Krishna went to meet Gandhari to offer his condolences as she had lost all her sons in the battle, Gandhari cursed Krishna as she believed that he could have stopped the war. She cursed that Krishna would die within 36 years along with anyone from the Yadu dynasty. Lord Krishna was happy to accept this curse because he knew his mission was ending. Krishna went to the forest and was wounded and left his body by the arrow of a hunter. When he was deported, a huge flood in the sea engulfed the gate. Arjuna mentions that he saw the rising of the sea that day. Heavy winds blew before the flood. Clay utensils in people's homes are beginning to burst themselves. Considering these as signs of a major catastrophe, Lord Krishna ordered all to bathe in the holy sea. Arjuna came to Krishna's call and told him about the impending disaster. Dwaraka is expected to drown at sea in another week. People were advised to move to a safe area. After that, Krishna's jungle trail, meditating under a tree in a forest at Balka Tirtha, Krishna departed from this world. Arjuna then performed a funeral for all the Yadavas, including Sri Krishna and Balaram. As they crossed the city, the sea became furious. Moments later, Dwaraka overwhelmed the city. All this was done before the eyes of the people of Dwaraka and Arjuna. Researchers have found a metropolis in the womb of the sea where the Gomati River meets the Arabian Sea on the west coast. Many landmarks have been found on the Jamnagar beach in Gujarat. It is about 20 kilometers from the Gujarat coast, 40 meters in the ocean, about 9 square kilometers in depth. The area is known for its historical city sprawl. Photos and video of rock formations of systematic structures have been released. In the years 2001 to 2004, a great deal of evidence was collected. It is truly amazing that a towering city is still intact at sea. It is said that over the centuries, several civilizations built their cities in the area where the city of Dwaraka once stood. The present city of Dwaraka is believed to be the seventh one that was built there.
Submerged city. After 17 battles with Jarasandha to protect his people, Lord Krishna moved from Mathura to a place on the coast of Saurashtra to establish his capital there. To grant him his wish, Samudradev, the lord of the sea, proceeded to give him 12 yojanas, or 773 square kilometers of land. Vishwakarma, the architect god in Hinduism, built him a new city. Planned and beautiful, this new capital flourished with wealth and was called Dwarka or Dwaravati. Dwar meaning door, and Ka meaning Brahma. The name thus referring to a place that's a doorway towards the union with Brahma, or in other words, a place for spiritual liberation. Legend has it that after the death of Krishna and the end of the Yadav dynasty, the city was swallowed by the sea. Explorations done between 1983 and 1990 have revealed submerged ruins of a great city of present-day Gujarat. Built across 6 sectors, this submerged city's boundary walls rest on boulders, proving that the land was reclaimed from the sea. The general layout of the city matches with what's written in Mahabharata. Scientific marine archaeological investigations conducted by the Marine Archaeology Unit of the National Institute of Oceanography and the government of Gujarat draw the final inference that there was really a city that got submerged in Dwarka in 1500 BCE. The architectural evidence and antiquities such as a seal and inscriptions go to indicate that it was a city of Mahabharata age, the home of knowledge, wisdom.
Similarly, Rameshwaram, which is one of the Char Dham, that is 4 divine abodes comprising of Badrinath, Puri and Dwaraka, is located on Rameshwaram Island in the state of Tamil Nadu. Rameshwara incidentally means Lord of Rama in Sanskrit, an epithet of Lord Shiva, the presiding deity of the Ramanatha Swami in the form of lingam, is believed to have been installed and worshipped by Lord Rama. 20 kilometers away from the main town of Rameshwaram is the place where you can see the Ram Setu. For reaching this place, one needs to cross over to the Pamban Island from the mainland. The best way to do this is by train through the mesmerizing Pamban Bridge, a cantilever bridge on the Palk Strait which connects Rameshwaram on Pamban Island to mainland India. The journey to Dhanushkodi begins through several fishing villages on the Palk Strait that stretches between India and Sri Lanka. Dhanushkodi was a small yet prosperous town, bordered by the Bay of Bengal on one side and the Indian Ocean on the other. But a deadly cyclone that hit during 1964 destroyed everything, and what remains now is a sandy shoreline which ruins dating back to those days. Dhanushkodi is a most unique and a must place to visit, as this is a divine land connected to the great epic Ramayana. When demon king Ravana had kept goddess Sita captive, Lord Rama had proceeded towards the southern direction from this town. It is said that he first viewed the sea from Rampant, Kodikarai, Vedaranyam, and there are monuments in the forest dedicated to the footprints of Lord Rama, where Lord Rama had ordered Lord Hanuman to build a floating stone bridge which could carry his army across to Sri Lanka to rescue Sita Devi from Ravana. So, the great journey's last leg goes through Tamil Nadu, giving this ancient state a unique stature in the Indian Ramayana trail. As ordered, Lord Hanuman had obliged, and it was here that the Ram Setu was built by the Vanara Sena. This is the beautiful stretch of sandy shore that we see from Dhanushkodi, from where the Ram Setu starts. This is also believed to be the end of the bridge which Lord Rama had broken using his bow and arrow. This is also known as Adam's Bridge globally, but the recent image released by NASA have confirmed that the stretch of land formation visible between Dhanushkodi and the Sri Lankan mainland is certainly man-made. This place gains greater significance and is highly revered for the Ram Setu built by Lord Rama lies there, unique mix of history, myth, mystery and unparalleled natural beauty. Rameshwaram is also one of the 12 Jyotirlingams, and Rameshwaram Temple Jyotirlinga is associated closely with the Ramayana and Lord Rama's victorious return from Lanka. So, both Dwaraka and Kodikkarai in Rameshwaram are under the sea. And Udavesh Buva had planned to go on a pilgrimage to Dwaraka. The group of pilgrims went from Mumbai by ship. The tickets were with Shamdas and were in two parts. One of the ferries carried them from the coast to the ship and one for the ship itself. Udavesh Bua separated the two parts and kept the ferry tickets in his pocket and the ship tickets in his wallet. He was standing near the railing of the ship and he had to remove his wallet for some reason. Just then, somehow the wallet fell overboard and all the money and tickets that were kept inside the wallet fell into the sea. Udavesh Bua narrated all that had happened to the ticket collector in the steamer. The officials were satisfied as Udavesh Bua had the ferry tickets and let him go. Udavesh was very upset as he had no money with him. He was puzzled about how he would manage the expenses throughout the journey. That night, Gopal Giridhar, Uddavesh's son, had a vivid dream. The all-compassionate Baba appeared in the dream of Gopal as a fakir and awakened him by shaking him. "Send money to your father at Dwaraka," he said. Giridhar looked around his bedroom but found nobody. Then he fell asleep again. But now Baba appeared again and angrily said, I told you to send money to your father. He is stranded there while you are sleeping. This time he got up and went to the door to look for the fakir. But the door was locked and there was no fakir anywhere. Gopal Giridhar has not seen Baba. Hence, he does not know that the fakir who appeared in his dream was Shirdi Sai Baba. He sat up and thought over the dream, then realized that his father must be in trouble and stranded at Dwaraka. So he decided that next morning he need to send some money to his father. That morning he was thoughtful how to get money as he had no money to send. Just then he received some arrears money from an insurance company that was amounting to rupees 50. Immediately, Gopal sent that money to his father at Dwaraka, whereas Uddavesh Buva was distressed at Dwaraka and was even pondering if he had to break his pilgrimage and return home. At this juncture, the money reached Uddavesh Buva and he was pleasantly surprised to receive this money and completed the pilgrimage with ease. Now, on his return, he asked his son how and what made him to send that money at the opportune moment. Giridhar narrated the dream and how the fakir insisted him to send the money. Uddavesh Bua realized that this was the divine sport of his Moksha Guru Baba. Later, when Shyamdas went to Shirdi, Baba was seated in Dwarakamai near the railing surrounded by his devotees. Just then, Shyama told Baba, Deva, Uddavesh Bua had come for darshan. Then Baba said, I have been looking after him for a long time and will look after him in the future too. Then Baba added, Shyamdas, you drowned the money in the sea. Allah Malik gave you money. He also gave you water to quench your thirst. Hearing these words of Baba, Shyamdas was overwhelmed by Baba's love and care. He ran towards Baba, placed his head at the lotus feet of Sadguru Sainath Maharaj for a while and shed tears of joy. These incidents took place in Dwaraka and Girnar. None informed Baba, who was in Shirdi, about the impediments faced by Uddavesh. But everything was well known to Baba as he is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent. However far his devotee was, Baba watched him day and night, pulled him from the danger and challenges that Uddavesh was enduring. Uddavesh Bua was overjoyed that his life is a testament to Sai Baba's promises to his devotees that he will look after their welfare day and night. Uddavesh held the divine feet of Sai and remained for almost 15 minutes washing Dai's feet with tears of gratitude. Then Baba patted his head and said, Get up, Shyamdas, sit a while with me. Baba's grace enveloped Shyamdas and continued even in the later part of his life. The Rinana band between Baba and Shyamdas was very deep. Devotees, I would like to recall the first chapter of Sri Sai Satcharitra, which narrates the Leela of Baba grinding the wheat, and Hemat Panji elucidates that by grinding wheat every day, Baba grounded the suffering and karmas of devotees who come to him. This might not sound acceptable for many because The Leela illustrates that Baba grounded wheat to eradicate the epidemic and chase Cholera Devi out of Shirdi. Then, how can Hemat Panji use that incident to explain that Baba grounded wheat to annihilate the sins of his devotees? I felt this statement was a mere exaggeration as there was no direct evidence to prove it. I found no clarification in Sri Sai Satcharitra to clear my doubt. But now I got a clear evidence from the Leela of Shyamdas. Let me share with you the same. Once, when Shyamdas went to Dwarakamai, Baba was grinding wheat. So Shyamdas went to the sanctum sanctorum, sat down, and noted Baba singing a while, spoke Vedanta, then gave some abuses. There was a deliverance of mixture of these expressions, but grinding never stopped. He was so fascinated in grinding the wheat. Thus, Baba grounded a small portion of the wheat, removed the flour, and added some more wheat and began to grind in the same fashion. Shyamdas observed Baba for a while, and as he was closely acquainted with Baba, he posed this question: Baba, why have you kept this hand mill? Why do you do this chore of grinding? Baba then said, Itte je yatat tyanche mala dalava lakta bara. When roughly translated, whoever comes to me, I must grind for them. Thus, Udavesh Bua realized that Baba grounds the suffering and karmas of the devotees who come to him. This response of Baba struck the core of Uddavesh's heart, and he realized how much trouble and hardship Baba undergoes for us. And now I realized that Hemat Panji's narration in the first chapter of Sri Sai Satcharitra is never an overstatement, as now Baba himself has pronounced to Shyamdas the purpose of his grinding the wheat. That's why Baba never distributed this wheat flour to anyone, and these incidents are also shared in the Sai Leela magazine by Shyamdas, and the same has been compiled by Vinny Chitluri ji in her Sai literature titled Baba's Rinanabandh. Through these wonderful experiences, we can perceive that our Sanchit and Kriyaman karmas are whirling around like a wheel. Then there are our hopes, aspirations, goals, and trials. Only the Sadguru shoulders our tribulations for material benefits. Finally, to set us on the path of spirituality, helping us as we take the first few steps, like a mother carrying us every time we falter or fall. Only our Sadguru can liberate us from the cycle of future births and deaths. No one else can. The love and concern showed by Baba towards his devotees is unfathomable. While I narrate these enthralling experiences, my mind is engrossed in these thoughts. Oh, my Sai, what all you have to do for us! How much pain you are shouldering on yourselves for the sake of uplifting us! You are our beloved eternal Father, our most compassionate Mother. Otherwise, who else will take the pain of his children upon him in order to shower happiness and free them from the bondage of the cycle of birth and death? How are we to show our love for you? How are we to show our gratitude for all the blessings that you shower upon us? Is there anything that we can do? How will I reciprocate for all that I enjoy by your grace? There is absolutely nothing that I can offer to equate all that you do for me. But I can always love you from the bottom of my heart, keep you in my thoughts, sing thy divine glory, share thy divine experiences, and drench my heart and your children's heart in your love, and even that is feasible only through your grace. Hence, I humbly place my head at the lotus feet of our Sadguru Sainath Maharaj, washing his lotus feet with tears of gratitude, and beseech him to be this kind ever and to make us a befitting one to realize his divine presence, to love him immensely, truly, and endlessly forever. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Om Sai Ram.